بسم الله الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه وتعالى ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله جاء بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كله ولو كره الكافرون ولو كره المشركون ولو كره من كره وبعد أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله كما قال الله في كتابه العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وبعد الحمد لله. Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again for this opportunity to come and remember Him at this blessed time, in this blessed day, and in this blessed month. This is the last Jum'ah of Ramadan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us all the tawfiq to witness this Ramadan and to witness another Salatul Jum'ah. And we praise Him and we thank Him for that. And we cannot praise Him enough. لا نحصي الثناء عليك بل أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would say, we can't encompass the amount of praise that is due to you or as you have praised yourself. We begin in His name. And we praise Him and we thank Him and we seek refuge in Him from the evil of our actions and the evil of our souls. And we bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His last and final prophet. And we say some words of taqwa to remind ourselves. And I would like to say a few things about generosity, specifically karam. Karam is the word in the Arabic language that most eloquently summarizes and encompasses the idea of generosity in the Arabic language. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Karim. He is the ultimate in generosity. There's a verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas, ma gharraka bi rabbika al-kareem. O mankind, what has deceived you of your Lord, the Kareem? Where does your deception come from? Why are you so lost when your Lord is the Kareem? The ulama, they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put an answer in the question. He asked, what has deceived you about your Lord, the most Kareem? And the answer is just right there, because Allah is Al-Kareem. Allah is so generous. It's like being a fish in water. You're constantly surrounded by ni'am. And so you become desensitized to it. And that's what makes you susceptible to being in a state of ghafla, because you have so much ni'am that you don't even realize it. It's more than you can handle. There's a beautiful story of a Bedouin coming up to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and telling him it hasn't rained for a week. It hasn't rained for a long time. Make dua that it rains. And Rasulullah ﷺ raised his hands and he made dua. Right? And then all of a sudden the companion who's narrating the hadith, they said, we saw no clouds. There was nothing to suggest that it was going to. All of a sudden clouds started to come. And it started to rain. And rain. And it started to rain for days and days and days. And then that same companion came back the next week and said, oh yeah, Rasulullah, make dua that Allah stops it. It's too much. We can't handle it. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he made dua and he said, Allahumma hawlana wa la alayna. Make it rain around us and not on us. So much ni'am, more than they could take. The blessing of rain is never underestimated in the desert, but even that was more than they could. Allah is Al-Kareem. وَآتَاكُم مِّن كُلِّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُ. He has given you of everything that you have asked for. And He's giving you of stuff you haven't asked for. Allah says in the Quran, وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ. He's given you sight. He's given you hearing. He's giving you consciousness and feeling. What is the ni'mah of that? If someone were to ask you, you may think you may not have a lot of money, but if someone were to say to you, hey, I'll give you $10 billion for your left eye, would you do it? $10 billion for your left eye, would you do it? Probably not. That means just one eye is worth at least $10 billion to you, and it's yours. You're very rich. Allah has blessed you in ni'am. He has drenched you in His karam, but we don't think about it. But in these last few days of Ramadan, one of the things that we can try to do is inculcate that character within ourselves. We can try to instill that aspect of karam in ourselves to become more kareem-like, right? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Lillahi asma'ul husna." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the most beautiful names. He has 100 names. He has 100 names minus one. And whoever man ahsaha dakhala al-jannah, whoever preserves these names, and ahsaha is not just preserving them, but internalizes them, and makes them a part of their own character, that person will enter paradise. How can we make karam a part of our own character? And I would argue that karam and generosity, it's not just what you give, brothers and sisters, it's how you give. There's an art to generosity. There is an art to being charitable. There is an ethic and not just legal component to being a charitable Muslim, to being someone of karam. And we can start with the grape tree. It's interesting, in the Adab al-Arab, the Arab, the traditional Arab, they used to not only contemplate about the things around them in nature, but they used to really characterize them in a way that was so truthful. The Arab, they used to call the grape tree Kareem for a number of reasons. They used to call the grape tree Kareem for a number of reasons. And let's go through those reasons. And let's see how that applies to the art of charity. Because I think there's a very interesting overlap. One of the reasons that they used to call the grape tree Shajaratul Karam, the tree of generosity, is that first and foremost, it is Latifu Shajara. It's a tree that is very gracious and subtle in how it gives. That's lutf, graciousness and subtlety in how it gives. It gives so much, but it's so graciousness, and it's so subtle. Like you think you see all the grapes, you don't see it. There's so much more there, but you're not seeing all of it. And being subtle and gracious in your giving is one of the arts of charity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِن تُبْدُوا الصَّدَقَاتِ فَنِعِمَّا هِيَ. If you let people know about your charity, it's all good. وَإِن تُخْفُوهَا وَتُؤْتُوهَا الْفُقَرَاءَ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. But if you hide it and make sure it gets to people in need, in other words, being gracious and subtle, that's better for you. In one of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he talks about the 7 people who will have a shade on a day when there's no shade except the shade of Allah, he mentions وَرَجُلٌ تَصَدَّقَ وَأَخْفَاهُ حَتَّى لَا تَعْلَمُ شِمَالُهُ مَا تُنْفِقُ يَمِينُهُ. There will be a person, one of the people who will be shaded on a day when there's no shade but the shade of Allah, is someone who gives charity with his right hand so secretly his left hand had no idea what was going on. That's from the art of charity. That's from the ethics of charity. That you don't just make it so known. You don't make it an announcement to people. You try. It's okay if you do. It's all good if you do. But if you don't, and you make sure that it gets to the people in need, without you yourself getting the credit, that's even better for you. That's from the art of charity. There's a beautiful story of one of the companions at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A man came to the Prophet Muhammad and said, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And that's it. He came to the Prophet Muhammad and said, I'm hungry. And the Prophet Muhammad, he said, which one of you, to his companions, who can feed this person tonight? And one of the Ansar volunteered. He had a wife, he had some kids. He took the guest back home and then realized that he himself didn't have any food. So he told his wife, here's what we're going to do. They had a plan. You know, if you brought a guest over to your house for dinner, and you yourself didn't eat in front of them, they would feel uncomfortable, right? If you were a guest, wouldn't you feel uncomfortable? If that were the scenario, the host is not eating, but you're eating, right? So in order, because the art of charity is not just that you give, but you make the person feel good. You make them feel comfortable. You make them feel dignified. That's from the art of charity. So he said to his wife, here's what we're going to do. Let's put the kids to sleep. Okay, we're going to boil some water, we're going to dim the lights, and we're going to act like we're eating. And then, whatever food we do have, we're going to let our guests eat it. So they don't think that we're not eating and become uncomfortable as a result of that. So they put their kids to sleep. They make some food, they dimmed the lights, they acted like they were eating, but they weren't. So that all the rest of the food could come to the guests. That is true taqwa. That is true karam. وَإِن تُخْفُوهَا وَتُؤْتُوهَا الْفُقَرَاءَ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. Right? Subtle, gracious, thoughtful, latifu shajara. Another reason that they used to call the grape tree generous is because the grape tree was tibu thamara. It would give good fruit, the best fruit. Every single one of those grapes tastes good. You know, one of the arts of charity is that when you give the best of what you have. The absolute best of what you have. It's not really charity. And you're not really being charitable if you're just giving something that you were hoping you could get rid of anyway, right? You grew out of those clothes and you don't really like them anymore, so you're going to go give them in charity. No. That's not real charity. Charity is when you give out of that which you love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, again, about the ethics of charity, that وَلَا تَيَمَّمُوا الْخَبِيثَ مِنْهُ تُنْفِقُونَ وَلَسْتُمْ بِآخِذِهِ إِلَّا أَن تُغْمِدُوا فِيهِ. Don't give in charity things that are khabith, they're despised. So much so that Allah says, now put yourself in that other person's situation. If you were to receive that bit of charity, you wouldn't be able to do it except if you had to close your eyes and turn right and take it. That's how despicable it is to you. If that's how despicable it is to you, why would you give it to someone else? That's not going to raise them up. That's not going to dignify them. That's not going to bring them out of their situation. The whole point of charity is to raise them up and to dignify them. Right? And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You're never going to be pious until you give out of that which you love. And that piety that forms in the heart, that taqwa that forms in the heart, out of that act of charity, that's all that matters. Not the actual charity. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, elsewhere in the Quran, in Surah Hajj, He says, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُ التَّقْوَى مِنْهُ. At-taqwa minkum. It's not the meat that, and when you give sacrifice to Allah, and sacrificial animals during Hajj, it's not the meat, it's not the blood that reaches Allah. The price, that's not what reaches Allah. It's the taqwa that came from your heart. So when you give the best of what you have. Umayyah bin Khalaf was one of the enemies of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was also the unfortunate owner, because I say this because Bilal gave him such a hard time, alhamdulillah. He was the unfortunate owner of Bilal, radiallahu anhu. Bilal was one of the most beloved companions to the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks so much in the Quran about freeing slaves. Right? And so Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, he knew how much Bilal was beloved to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and thus to Allah, and also to him. He wanted to free Bilal. So he went to Umayyah bin Khalaf and he said, give me a price. Umayyah bin Khalaf gave him a ridiculously high price. And of course, Abu Bakr, he was willing to give it. And so right away he accepted. And then you know what Umayyah bin Khalaf did? He laughed. And he said, you know what, man? If you would have just negotiated half the price, this guy at Bilal, man, if you would have given me half of what I'm asking for, I would have given it to you. Now imagine how that's making Bilal feel. But look at the response of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. He said, if you would have charged me double the amount for this man here, I would have given it to you. He's worth it and more. Give the best of what you have. The best of what you have. Because charity is to bring him up. How do you think Bilal felt when he heard Abu Bakr say that? It raised him up. It dignified him. It brought him out of that. You know, when you're a slave, it's not just physical, it's psychological. It brought him out of the psychological impairment. I'm somebody. And that's the feeling of somebodiness that a person's supposed to get when you give them charity. Not a feeling of guilt and that you put a burden on them. Right? Tibu thamara, the best of what you have. They used to call the grape tree generous also because it was سهل القطف. It was so easy to pick. It's so easy to pick those grapes off, right? It's so easy to grab them, and it's so easy to eat. Ease. Giving with ease is from the art of charity. It's from the ethics of charity. There are some people, when they want to give, there's an internal battle that has to go on inside of them before they can give. There's an inner jihad, and a conversation that's going back and forth and back and forth and back. And alhamdulillah, that's part of the struggle. But there's other people, they just give like the wind. And he was more generous in this time of Ramadan. The hadith says, Rasulullah, he was more ajwad, more generous than a breeze. How easy is a breeze? What is more mentally cognitive of ease than just a breeze that just comes by you? No inhibition whatsoever. There are people who, when they give, they make you feel like it was so easy for them to give. And those are the best people to ask, because it makes you feel good. One time, a Bedouin came to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ asking for some charity. There was some sheep between two valleys. He gave them all the sheep. This is an authentic hadith. The man goes back to his people and says, Ya qawmi aslimu, فَإِنَّ مُحَمَّدًا يُعْطِي عَطَاءَ مَنْ لَا يَخْشَى الْفَقْرَ. Oh, my people, become Muslim. This man, Muhammad, gives like someone who's not afraid of poverty at all. With utter and complete ease. Another time, a Bedouin came up to him and yanked the cloak off of his neck. You know, the Bedouin, they were rough and gruff. And said, Murli min mali Allahi alladhi indak. Give me some of that money Allah gave you. And Rasulullah simply looked at him. فَالْتَفَقَ إِلَيْهِ. He turned and smiled at him. That's it. Just turned and smiled, and then told the companion next to him. He said, okay, give him some of the money. Let's give him some of that money that we have. Ease. It's so easy, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَنفَقْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَهُوَ يُخْلِفُ. If you really truly have that in your heart, if that's really settled in your heart, then the whole thing becomes easy. Whatever you give for the sake of Allah, He'll replace it. He'll replace it. Another reason they used to call the grape tree generous, it was qaribu tanawuli. It was so accessible. You know, there's some fruits, you gotta climb up a tree to get them. There's some fruits that they're just not easy to pick, right? You gotta go through, but a grape, no, it's right there. Eye level. You just grab it. It's accessible. So accessible. You know, one of the beautiful things about a truly charitable person, someone who really has encompassed the art of charity, they're so accessible. There are people in the community, they could probably give, but you can never get a hold of them. They could probably donate, but you can never find them. Right? And it wouldn't even be a burden to them. They're just not accessible. Jarir ibn Abdullah, who was a very famous companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Jarir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, he says in a hadith, he says, مَا حَجَبَنِي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ مُنْذُ أَسْلَمْتُ وَمَا رَآنِي إِلَّا ضَحَكَ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he never once, from the time that I converted to Islam, he never once prevented my access to him. Hajabani. Like hijab. What he's saying is that he never once prevented my access to him. A statesman, a general, a husband, a father, you couldn't get more busy than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the most simple companion had direct access to him whenever he wanted. So accessible. And what did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do except give charity? That's it. And then he says at the end of the hadith, and he never looked at me except that he would smile. That's another act of charity. Smiling itself is an act of charity. But you know what else it is? It's telling the person from a body language point of view, I'm accessible. Come, ask. Ask. You could tell from some people's faces, just by looking at them, I can't ask that person. I'm not asking that person. Right? The face, the subtleties, the crevices, the tone, the body language. It could be inviting or non-inviting. And you can tell that from a person. There's some people, their body language is so inviting. Right? You feel welcomed. You just feel it. And they just make you feel like they're so accessible. Umar, when he was Khalifa, subhanAllah, when he was Khalifa, One time he was sleeping, and there was an envoy from Persia coming to meet him for like an official state meeting, right? And this envoy comes and finds the masjid in Medina, and they find some people out in the city, and they're looking for a big castle, because that's where the leader must be, right? And they start asking people, where's Umar? Where's your leader? Where's your Khalifa? One guy's like, I don't know. The other guy, he might be over there. Another person's like, he might be over yonder somewhere. And finally, a person directs them to under this tree. And they go and they find Umar sleeping under a tree with no bodyguards. And they're totally surprised. And they mention some words, Allahu Alam, about the authenticity of this. But it's so beautiful. They mention some words at that time. They say, Ya Umar, Hakimta, Fa'adilta, Fa'aminta, Fanimta. Oh Umar, you have ruled, and you have dispersed justice in your ruling. And therefore you have felt security and peace, and therefore you can sleep under this tree. Right? Accessible. Look how accessible Umar was. Subhanallah. Accessibility. And there are people in the community. See, the real act of charity, and the real art of charity, and being charitable, and being accessible, is that you find the person who needs charity. Not that they come and find you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the people who are in need, they have dignity. يَحْسَبُهُمُ الْجَاهِلُ أَغْنِيَاءَ مِنَ التَّعَفُّفِ. You might look at them, but because you don't know, you might think that they don't need money, because they're going to present themselves in a way that makes them look like they're not in need, because they need that dignity. But a real charitable person, a real charitable will seek them out, will find them, will take some time and effort to figure out who these people are. And just like we said, latif, and in subtlety and graciousness, will make sure that they get some charity without themselves even being known. Without themselves even being known. That's the real, how many times do the organizers of the masjid have to stand up and ask for money? They shouldn't have to do that. You should go to them. You should come to the masjid. We should come to the masjid and give the masjid money, so they're not in that position to have to ask constantly, week after week, month after month. Brothers and sisters, we need some money just to survive, so we can keep our carpets clean, so we have dignity when we make sujood, so we can keep the water running in the wudu area. Don't let your masjid come to you to ask for. You come to your masjid. Take your masjid out of that position of weakness, and lack of it. Bring them up. Finally, the last thing, we'll end here soon, and just briefly say one or two things in the second khutbah. The reason they used to call the grape tree generous is that it was صغير عن الأسباب المؤذية بخلاف النخل. It had no annoyance associated with it. There are some fruits that have thorns. You want to pick the fruit, you get stabbed. There are some fruits like the date tree, you have to climb up a tree. It's hard, it's difficult. And so if you want charity, you have to be hurt in the process. There are some people, they'll give. But you know what they'll do afterwards? They'll remind you. And that's that thorn. That's that annoyance. Allah's not in need of that. قول معروف ومغفرة خير من صدقة يتبعها أذى. To say good words, just to say good words. قول معروف, and to forgive people. That's better in the sight of Allah than to give someone charity and then remind them that you gave them charity. The art of charity, brothers and sisters, is to bring someone up, not to bring them down. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله فاستغفروه إنه كان غفارا. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. There's an authentic hadith, and I'm paraphrasing the hadith more or less, where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says لا تقولوا للشجرة العنب كرم فإن الكرم هو الرجل المسلم. Don't call the great tree generous, because the truly generous one is the Muslim. And in another hadith he says, qalbul mu'min, the heart of a Muslim. That's where true generosity lies. Because in the heart of a believer, is those rules of ethics. In the heart of a believer is those subtleties, those fine nuances of graciousness that come with being a truly charitable person. We have 1 or 2 days left in Ramadan, brothers and sisters. How can we become people of karam? With your family, with your friends, with people you know, with people you don't know, with your masjid. How can we give fi sabilillah, not just with our hands, but with our hearts? اللهم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا باطلا باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأقم الصلاة